Good afternoon, everyone. It's Wednesday, July 28th, and this is the Planning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee. We are meeting today at 1:30 p.m. to take up two zoning text amendments, 2102 and 2103. 2102, independent living facilities for seniors and persons with disabilities, residential zone standards. Today's a work session, and this zoning text amendment was co-sponsored by, or lead sponsored by Councilmembers Friedson and Katz, and a number of others are co-sponsors, including myself. So I will turn it to one of our, or both of our co-sponsors to share any introductory comments they would like to make, and then we'll turn to the council packet.
Appreciate it. I don't know if Councilmember Katz has joined. I'll just be very brief. I think we can get into the substance of this, but basically this is part of our ongoing effort to create a more appropriate and greater diversity of housing types, particularly as we look at those in our community who are seeking to both age in place and age in community, both of which are important and aren't necessarily the same. And so this is building on previous efforts that we have done at this council quite recently, actually, and I think this is a natural next step. Appreciate the work of Councilmember Katz and his team, and we have co-sponsors, our Council President Hucker, the Chair, Councilmember Reamer, and Councilmember Navarro. So thank you for that, and if it's okay with you, unless Councilmember Katz is here and wants to offer any quick comments, we can turn it over to Ms. Nadeau to go through the packet.
Ms. Nadeau.
All right, so this is very similar to ZTA 2008, which is for residential care facilities, which we passed back in May, in that it's going to allow seniors to have a more varied type of housing. This one is actually independent living facilities for seniors or persons with disabilities. And so the public hearing was in July. There's one person testified in support and another in opposition. The developer testified in support, talked about how the open space requirement that's currently in the code hinders development, especially for doing multiple building types at a time when the county is trying to create more housing. And also that this use actually has a pretty minimal impact on communities in terms of traffic and strain on the school systems, given the populations that live in them. There was some opposition from the West Montgomery County Citizens Association, stating that there's already different building types for seniors, asking to leave the open space requirement and to not allow fee simple ownership. I do want to quickly respond to that, just to note that that zoning ordinances do not deal with the type of ownership, so that's not something you could put in a zoning ordinance anyways. So planning recommended approval with two amendments. I'm going to go through the ZTA first, and then I'll do the amendments at the end. I think that's a little easier. So first, the current definition is for independent living facility for seniors or persons with disabilities is a building containing dwelling units and related services for senior adults or persons with disabilities. It includes meal preparation and service, daycare, personal care, nursing, or therapy, or any service to the senior adult or disabled population that's an ancillary part of one of these operations. So that is the current definition. So the new definition in the ZTA does a few things. First, it changes the term a building to a building or collection of buildings of any building type. Second, it changes includes on-site support services to may include. So this is it seems like a big change, but if you're looking at it in the code under the conditional use standards, the hearing examiner is actually already instructed to make sure that either there are services on site or there's adequate accessibility to those sites. So it's changed to may include in the definition to make it more consistent. And then next, the biggest changes come in the setbacks. So first is the green area requirement. The way it is in the current code, the green area requirement is based on the underlying zone. So it ranges from 70% in the RE zones to 50% in the R60 and R90. Just for reference, green area is defined as outdoor scenic, recreational, or similar amenities, including lawns, decorative plantings, sidewalks, walkways, and active and passive recreational areas available for occupants and visitors of the building. So obviously green space is good, but if you're going to have more building types, there's going to be more limited space because it's not just one tall apartment building. There is still going to be a green area requirement. It's just going to be 50% across all zones. Next is the setbacks. So the minimum side and rear setback is kept at 25 feet, but that's to abutting lots not included in the application. And again, this is so that if you have, say, several townhouses grouped together on the outside of that development, you're going to keep that 25 feet. And with that, I will actually go to some of the amendments proposed by planning. So first is for height. So the ZTA did not have a height restriction in there at first because in council staff's opinion, it wasn't necessary since you're allowing apartment buildings anyways, which can be up to 60 feet. But planning does recommend including that. And the way the provision is written, the height will be based on the building type for the underlying zone. So if it's R30 and it's a townhouse, you check what the height would be in the R30 zone for a townhouse. So that's the way the amendment is written, and that is on page 4 of the memo.
You're seeing nodding from Councilmember Katz and me. I think both of us view this as a very friendly and appreciated suggestion from planning that keeps in the spirit and the intent of the ZTA.
Councilmember Katz, did you want to add some comments?
No, Councilmember Friedson already texted me that he spoke, and I'm somebody that has always understood that you take yes for an answer. So anyhow, thank you very much. Yeah.
I'm still learning, but I'm working on it, Councilmember.
Okay, good.
So, so then the second amendment, also proposed by planning that council staff recommends as well, is for the front setback. So the front setback was previously 50 feet. So the way this amendment is written, the front setback will also depend on the underlying zone. So that would ensure that when you have these townhouses or duplexes, whichever the developer builds, that it still lines up with all the neighboring buildings and properties that are around it. So those are the two amendments, and then the ZTA is also included in the packet.
Yeah, similarly here, this is really a clarification. The idea is the protection should be to the buffering neighboring communities, that there should be more flexibility within the community that they're building, the idea being that they can work out themselves what is the most appropriate way within the community with this collection of buildings. But we want to maintain the compatibility and buffering and other protections in terms of setbacks with the neighboring communities, which seems which is intended and is appropriate. And so similarly see this as a friendly suggestion. We appreciate. I see Mr. Berbert has joined us, but I think we're all on board with this suggestion as well.
Oh, sorry. I should also note the setbacks for the buildings are going to use, not for the buffer, but any buildings on the inside are going to use the setbacks of the R30 zone, which is a good choice because the R30 zone already accounts for every building type.
Okay.
So the idea is that they can be closer internally, like the buildings within the community can be closer based on the R30 zone, but the community buildings that buffer the outside community would maintain the larger setbacks as a basically a greater protection and a to the broader community, which seems appropriate.
And these okay, sounds fine. I guess I have a sort of general question. I don't want to imply that I think this is like a fatal problem, but I'm just curious. What happens if the company that provides the services no longer is in business? And the owner, what's the status then? The owners of these properties come together and hire new services, or like what? How does that all fit together? And I know that's not really regulated by the zoning code per se, but it would become non-conforming, I suppose. Can you explain that a bit, Livu?
I'm not sure if it would automatically become non-conforming. Again, since the zoning code doesn't talk about the specific ownership. So if the company owns the whole thing and then the company went out of business, then presumably they'd have to sell it to someone. It's not,
And then the new buyer
the
would,
zoning ordinance doesn't say that each building is owned by the senior or person with disabilities.
Yeah, I think just to clarify, I think there's two different issues here. One is the individual condo ownership of each unit within a community, which is basically a condo style, or a co-op style arrangement where there's common areas and then there's individual units that can be owned, for instance. And then there's the question of the operation of the community itself. And there is definition in here which we adopt from other. We didn't make up the definition. It's a definition that already exists in the zoning code. For independent living facilities of what that means. And so if one company goes out of business, you would still have to have another company that provides the services as defined under the independent living facility standards, just like with any independent living facility that falls under the zone. The key change here is currently an independent living facility has to be a multifamily, has to be one type of housing. And all we're trying to do here is say, well, there are, in more modern communities, there are different types of housing, and sometimes there's a combination of multifamily and mid-rise and townhome, et cetera. And we want to provide added flexibility to be able to create the communities that actually serve the needs of our residents and also that reflect the modern marketplace, because our zoning standards, like they were with 2008 that we passed, with higher level of service, with this kind of intermediate level of services, the same issue remains, which is that we want to provide a level of flexibility to create the type of communities that residents want and where the market is actually going. So it's really an update to the zoning standards in order to meet those needs.
right, like, which is what we also did recently with a different zoning change.
Yeah, this really does just mirror 2008, which is what we did very similarly for independent living facilities, like we did with the higher service, medical service type of facilities.
Ben, anything you can add to, how does the land use reflect the potential changes in the business operations?
So for the record, Ben Berber with the Montgomery County Planning Department. I'd sort of agree that I'm not sure. I definitely don't think it's definitely not a zoning issue. I would agree that if sort of the manager of the company were to go out of business, they would need to find a new servicer or manager. These are required to get county and state licenses, and I believe these things require updating. So I think there are sort of checks and balances that are sort of outside of Chapter 59 that would be stepping in at some point to ensure that this would continue operating as an independent living for seniors or disabilities center and not sort of convert into a just free market type development over time.
Good. I think that's what I was looking to hear. Sydney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I should start out and say I apologize for the technical difficulties. I certainly visited other places in Montgomery County from my desk today. I had several wrong links, I think. But I did want to thank Councilmember Friedson for his collaboration, and I want to thank Ms. Nadu and Ms. Dunn for their diligent work on this. And Councilmember Friedson has said it all. I mean, this really is it gives us the flexibility. And in fact, we already know of two developments that are looking to do this, and this would be helpful to them. One of which is in District 1, Councilmember Friedson's, and one of which is in District 3, my district. So, I think this is a step in the right direction, and I thank you for it.
Great. Anyone else? Okay.
Unless there's no other questions, I'd like to move with the 2 planning amendments.
Second.
We don't usually do motions at a committee of 3 because the second is the majority.
All right, I don't know if we took with no objections.
I think we usually just, exactly.
Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. So I'm
We don't,
throwing it out
well,
there.
that's true too. It can be a little, depends on the moment to some extent, but generally speaking, we state our views. I don't know that it requires a motion. We just,
Okay, well, we're talking longer about it than I think it was.
I am in support.
Approve it, so if we can approve it with the
I
amendments.
think that was the
that's good.
key. Councilman Ridge wanted to say he's in support. So now that's a 2, and I join you, that's 3, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. My wife always
Okay.
says consistency every now and then is better than none. So I just want you to know that. So anyhow, thanks. Talk to you all. Right.
All right, very good. The motions thing does come up in some strange times. Today it's not an issue, but there are times when it suddenly is an issue. So, okay, very good. That takes care of that zoning text amendment. And Lou, you've got another one for us.
Yes, so this is ZTA 2103 for charitable and philanthropic institutions to allow them to have kitchens. So the background for this one, well, first it's lead sponsor, Councilmember Friedson, and then co-sponsor, Councilmember Navarro, and then after introduction, I believe every council member is a co-sponsor on this one. In August 2015, council passed a ZTA that allowed charitable institutions to provide shelter in an existing detached house or townhouse for people who are supporting a family member at a nearby medical institution. So what this ZTA does is it expands that use to allow them to prepare food on the premises and then distribute it for off-site consumption if it's without payment. So there was a hearing in July 20th, 2021, so about a week or 2 ago. And at that hearing, everybody testified in support. There was a lot of support in particular for Beaker Home, who does a lot of this work in Montgomery County, and we're the ones who first approached us about the ZTA. And there are lots of reasons given for supporting it. It helps with food security, which we know has been really important during the pandemic, about food bringing people together, how it helps caregivers and patients focus on treatment, reduce financial stress, all those really positive reasons. And then specifically for this nonprofit, providing kosher meals, finding healthy meals that are conscious of everybody's dietary needs, particularly when you're going through treatment and care, is really important. So more good reasons for this use. Planning recommended approval, but did have concerns about the impacts on traffic and noise in residential neighborhoods, since these uses are in detached and semi-detached houses. So their proposed amendment sets a limit based on the width of the right-of-way. So the amendment reads, for properties that front on and have direct access to a public road with a master planned right-of-way of 120 feet or greater, food may be prepared on the premises for off-site consumption, but must be provided without payment. So that ensures that we're not going to have a lot of trucks and cars and delivery services going through if it's a really tiny street, but also leaves the option in place to still prepare food for on-site consumption if you don't meet that right-of-way. So I actually, as council staff, don't have too much to add here other than 2 important things I do want to note. First, a food service facility is a use that's defined in Chapter 15 of the county code, and this CTA is not going to exempt these institutions from having to meet all the requirements of a food service facility. That's things like health and safety inspections. I talked to DHHS, they're aware of the ZTA and have no issues with it, but just want to make sure that anybody applying for this use makes sure to do those checks as well. And then second, other than that, council staff recommends approval of the ZTA. I know there's been a lot about the specific nonprofit, but of course ZTAs apply to the entire county, but I think overall it's a good ZTA.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah, appreciate it. The planning amendment here is fine as well. Had no issues with it. I'll just note the original ZTA that allowed for the creation of this organization was tailored in a way that there are no others. I'm not sure that there will be any others, but we would love for there to be others. And in that off chance, I think it does make sense, and do appreciate planning suggestion to try to focus it and tailor it even further to make sure that there are no impacts. Although I will note that that is not an issue here, nor is it anticipated to be an issue anytime soon. But certainly this is zoning, so we should be thinking for the things that don't exist today but might exist sometime into the future. The only other thing that I would say, this is really important. You heard the public testimony, which I found compelling. I don't want to talk too long about this because everybody is in support, and I'm learning from my good friend, Councilmember Katz, about taking yes for an answer. But just to hone in on the point, kosher food does exist while people are getting treatment, whether it's rehab or in hospitals. When we talk about culturally competent food, the problem is that the kosher food that's available is generally boxed food. Boxed food means it has preservatives in it, and most boxed food is very high in sodium. And so the issue is the food that is culturally appropriate is not medically appropriate, because if you're getting treatment for certain ailments, you need food oftentimes that's low in sodium, for instance, that has higher vegetable, fresh vegetable content, et cetera. And, we currently really don't have an infrastructure in the county in order to be able to provide that. This organization is trying to step up to meet that need. I think it's part of, as we talked about before, our broader efforts to ensure that we're providing healthy, culturally competent food in lots of different contexts. This is for families and residents and visitors sometimes even who are vulnerable, who are receiving treatment, who have lots of things to worry about and shouldn't have to worry about whether or not their meal is able to be consumed from a religious belief standpoint, or whether or not it's able to be consumed from a medical attention.
Gonna get that 5G, Andrew. All right.
I think he's in a commercial center. It already exists. But while he's waiting, I am fine with the planning amendment. I think this is a very because we all co-sponsored it, we all think it's very good ZTA. So glad we can move it forward.
Yes, I remember our work last time to establish this allowance. I thought it was a great idea to support this organization and their mission, and the idea that they need a little bit of additional adjustment so that they can prepare a fresh meal is, of course, something we should support. So we'll give Andrew a moment to come back. Okay.
I'll take that as a hint.
Oh, there you are. Yes, I think we're good. I think we expressed our support. So
great.
We can vote on this good proposal. Is there anything, Lavu, we didn't discuss that we ought to discuss? No,
that was everything.
Ben, same. Okay.
My goal today was to bring the most buttoned up, least controversial, consensus filled issues. So appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Chair and Councilmember Jawanda.
Let's let them have a kitchen.
It's a nice way to end the last PHED for a while here.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor show of hands. All right, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. And we can now adjourn. We'll see you in September. Have a great August. Thank you, Lavu. All right, bye everybody. We're done.
Take care.